Good evening and welcome to Legacy After the Locker Room. I'm your host, Kayla Bradham, here tonight with Harlem Globetrotters legend, Paul Gaffney. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Kayla. How are you?
I'm doing great and I'm so happy to see you, Paul. You and I ran into each other at Atlanta. I was down there for the Black Sports Business Symposium. Saw you in a restaurant. We started talking. I said, "Oh my gosh, you're doing amazing work. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us."
No, thank you. All the amazing work you're doing out there also. So it was a great conversation.
Thank you. So let's go right into this, Paul. 15 years with the Harlem Globetrotters. What did sports look like in your house growing up as a little boy? What's your story?
Well, in our area in East Tennessee, well, no, I'm sorry, not East Tennessee, but Harlan County, Kentucky. Better Benham and Lynch. And we're in the coal. I'm a coal miner's son. Sports was very big. We had some great athletes. In fact, Bernie Bickerstaff is from our hometown. Uh, so it's a lot of great athletes there. Better than that, it was a lot of per capita from our small area. There's more doctors, lawyers, professional people in that area than in the whole state of Kentucky. So not only that sports were big, but a business and education was definitely big. So sports you grew up with it. I mean, my story kind of probably was a little bit different than a lot of people's, and similar to some. Um, when I was growing up, my during the time I was, I should say, I was adopted. Well, pretty much, my mother, my biological mother, just had a child. I had a daughter, um, and about a year later, year and a half later, she was pregnant again. She thought she ate too much watermelon or something at the prom, but it wasn't. It wasn't watermelon. And during that time, it wasn't as acceptable for especially a high school teen to have not only one but two kids. So her mother at the time gave her an ultimatum: either you're going to abort this child or you're going to give it up for adoption. And it was hard for her, um, but God always have a lamb in the bush. It was a older couple that was about 2 or 3 blocks away. They were a community kind of couple. Um, the mother couldn't have kids, and so they was always the community kids. So they got together, and so before birth, I was adopted. So when I was at the hospital, I turned to Gaffney. So I never knew any other last name than any other people, pretty much in the Gaffneys. And so, from that standpoint, being adopted on the in January the 18th, but my birthday is January 26th. So, Kayla, I'll be expecting a gift, and everybody that's listening, January. On the 18th of January, my mom, Deanie Gaffney, um, had a stroke before I was turning 2. So, 18th of January, my birthday is 26. Right before was turning 2, I was getting ready for a single parent, my father. And for the rest of the time, it was just my father and I, in a rural area, being adopted. And for me, sports was definitely a big part of my life. It kept me out of a lot of trouble. It kept me out of doing things that the wrong way, or making bad choices. And the education, the family, and then it was, even though we were supposed to move, I got to know my biological family when I was about age 12, 13. Um, but I already knew I was Gaffney. It was no questions, no no questions in my mind about who was my father, who was who was my father, who was my mom. That was the Gaffneys. And so I never did grow up with a complex of like I need to know or know that I was missing anything. basically had a little bit of the best of both worlds. And, you know, when we talk about what's sports in our life, you know, I had two best friends that we're best friends today. Around about 6, 7 years old. He was a cousin of mine that's basically 2 years older than me, named Gary Cal. And my best friend, and the middle of us was Gary Amos, my good friend. He was a great friend of ours. And so we grew up together, and I was the baby of the bunch. And, you know, I tell a lot of kids when I speak around the world, you got to have great people in your life. Because I was a young one, you know, I'm trying to hang out with them, and they kept, you know, we were kids. We was mischievous. You know, we played ball, we chased girls, we did, you know, things that little boys, you know, young men do. I know I was about 12, 13 years old, and we had our group, and we were real tight. And it was other groups out there that were maybe a little older, but you know, seemed cool because they was drinking and smoking and stuff at the time, and they had opportunity for me. I had opportunity to start smoking, and my friends, my brothers. I mean, they're not friends, they're brothers, and you know, you don't have to have a bloodline to be brothers. And my brothers, man, they were like, "What are you smoking? You mess up your life." And you know, the other people, you know, said, "No, what are you thinking? Don't you even try to do that." And you know, at that point, you know, it was a crossroads. I could have veered left when I was supposed to went right, and they really our lives are a lot different than the ones that were doing those things, and it turned out, you know, still great guys, they're good guys, but their lives wasn't as I would say profitable or successful as myself and my friends.
So you made it into the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh my God, yes, yes. It was a little journey. I know I was a little long with it, but that, you know, thinking about it, I was, you know, it always bring me joy that how God really just changed my life during that time, and you know, things could happen. And I remember being around about 14, 13, 14 years old. I was at the park. And see, those guys right there, if it was snowing, we'll shovel snow off the playground to go play, or you know, we just did things to go play. We played. We were from a coal mine area, so they had coal boxes and stuff. We did some alleys playing, and we talked about it about a few weeks ago, well, no, about a month ago, how if you seen us three on the court, it was like we didn't like each other at all. We played hard, but time the game was over, you couldn't separate us. You know, and that's how we are. We still that way today. But to answer your question, you know, about the Globetrotters, I mean, I was 13 years old, 13, 14 years old. I was at the park, and I was just, I don't know, just I guess just talking to God. And, you know, just thinking, it's like, you know, like, what do you want to do? What, you know, what you want to be? And I told him at first, because Magic Johnson was it's still my, you know, my idol, my model of professionally. My father was my biggest idol, but Magic Johnson was my guy. You know, when I first, he's the first game I ever watched completely was Michigan State, and you know, with versus Indiana State, and that was, you know, he just captivated me, and he captivated my game, my personality, everything during that time. So I was just standing outside. Going back to the story, I was standing outside, and I said, "Well, I want to be 6'9". I want to be a 6'9" guard. Uh, I want to travel." I said, "Well, no, I don't know if I want to be 6'9". I think I want to be like 6'6", 6'7". I could play a lot more positions. I wish I would have stuck with the first one, but anyway, and then I said, you know, I want to be playing professional. I want to play in the States, and I want to play overseas. I want the best of both worlds." And this is what I'm telling myself at 13, 14 years old. And I said, you know what? And I want to be a successful businessman. You know, I want to be in business because I had a lot of family that's still doing business. And I woke up one morning, basically about 14, 15 years later. you know, I'm basically signed with the Harlem Globetrotters, playing professionally. Well, I'm 6'6". I was in high school 6'6", um, 6'6" and a half, playing point guard, playing wing, playing those positions. Um, and then start getting into loving business, loving things of that nature. Never was really in business, but I had a paper route, things of that nature. Always doing a little something, but then I end up went to college, was signed to go to Kentucky, was verbally signed to go to Kentucky. Joe B. Hall left, Lenny Hamilton and all those guys left. Going to my senior year, end up going to Jacksonville State, got hurt, and then I end up. It's a whole nother story where I end up with those two guys again playing in college. Uh, and so left college. My agent was in Houston, moved to Houston. I thought I was going to free agent with Seattle Supersonics. Yeah, that's a long time ago, right? Um, and so went from there. Got hurt. I got hurt again in summer league. Was out about a year and a half. But during that time, you're playing with the Kenny Smiths, the Akeem Olajuwons, all these guys. Penny Hardaway. When I first met Penny Hardaway back in the day, I mean, all these guys, Robert Horry, all these guys that you've seen in those days. Houston was the hot spot. And so it was a guy that played with the Globetrotters, and the coach was, and there's a lot of overseas scouts and things there at the time because there's so much talent. If you were either a professional athlete, going to be a professional athlete, that was the place you played. You played with, and so they asked me to come to the camp first. Went to the camp, made it, became the Globetrotter. I was basically the youngest guy to ever be ahead, not younger in age, but within my first year to actually run the team or be like the master showman, the clown prince, following the footsteps of Sweet Lou Dunbar, Geese Osby, Mel Lark Lemon, Goose Tatum, Geese Osby, those legends, Showbiz Jackson, those legends like that. So it was a fast career. It was fast. 15 years later, I retire, come out, and then, well, matter of fact, December of '99, God gave me a vision. I woke up. It's like sports and education. I was like, sports and education, God, what are you talking about? And I just started writing. I still was playing another, basically 8 years, actually 9 years, and just going to places. Didn't know if it was a sports complex with after school programs. What was it? What am I? What am I doing? Just writing and going and hope, listening and not hearing right, bumping my head and all the other things that goes along with it. But 20 years later, we have our school, the Gaffney Athletic Preparatory Academy, and it's the nation's first teams college preparatory Christian academy for sports enthusiasts, and that's people who have a love and desire to be in the sports world. Where we focus on the careers in sports, like sports medicine, sports marketing, sports communication, sports nutrition. That's everything that society really doesn't show you what sports is about. And teams is a new learning model. The acronym stands for technology, engineering, athletics, mathematics, and science, where we take the concepts of STEM and view them through the lens of athletics. So we're able to not only get kids from around the world, but we also are also able to give them a pathway in the world of sports where they can take their true talents. Say, if it's architecture or drawing, is it cooking, and meet and connect it with what they love to do and or being around in sports, because there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of things in for just say nutrition that guys are and girls are out there needing nutritionists, needing someone to prepare meals, things of that nature, and they still in the sports world. One of the biggest examples I tell kids all the time, LeBron James, probably the most well-known athlete that's out there right now. And I said, when you see them on TV, somebody wrote the script for him, somebody filming it, somebody cut his hair, somebody put makeup on him, somebody got food in the back for him. So somebody drove him there, and there all of those people are still in the sports world without with the knees hurt. So they those are some of the things that are sorry about that by calling me doing this interview. I should have blocked it. But anyway, that some of the things that are what we try to teach, because a lot of times we don't understand that it's more than the physical size of sports when we're growing up. And coming from a rural area in Kentucky, one of the biggest things was being a top athlete to get out or be able to provide, and not knowing the other gifts and stuff that we have can provide also with something that you love. And most athletes, if you make it to that top level, don't understand it until it's over. Or if you don't make it, a lot of athletes feel like they are a failure because all their lives, you that one, you're gonna make it, you're gonna do this, and an injury happens, or you just don't make it. You just don't get chosen, and people don't know what to do, and it's hard to see a lot of. That's why you hear a lot, man. There's a lot of people in the parks that should have been playing pro, have talent, but for not able to be coachable, hurt, things of the nature just didn't happen. They didn't make it, and now their lives are different than other than taking advantage of their talents and putting it to the things that they love. So I know I said a whole lot, a mouthful. So forgive me, Hayla. That just you poked the bear and the honey came out.
Well, first of all, I love all of the honey that came out, Paul, because we're talking about really important things, right? Like these are kids' futures,
Yeah.
and not every kid is going to grow. So let's do this. Let's take a quick moment, thank our sponsor, and thank Sports Philanthropy Network for powering this podcast. Sports Philanthropy Network is dedicated to building stronger, healthier, and more inclusive communities. Thanks to our sponsor, Dugout Moms, our listeners 30% code Kayla30 at checkout. So, Paul, I just ask, getting into the Harlem Globetrotters, what skills did you learn there that prepared you for the academy?
Well, I think sports learn you from all angles of business. If you look at business today, people talking about teams and how do you assist someone, how do how can you be a better teammate for someone. They use a lot of sports acronyms for business today, because sports are really a reflection of life. When you have a basketball in your hands, and we just use basketball, even though our school has nine what we call our nine elite sports. um, when you have a basketball, a soccer ball, and you have it in your hand, and if I'm holding it and then you're holding it, no matter that you're Caucasian or female, we are teammates at that moment. And that's the great thing about sports. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't have it doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have anything but two people or a group of people with a common goal. And and so with business, one of the things that with the Globetrotters is a few things they look for. First of all, they look for talent. Someone, you could spin the ball on your finger, throw it behind your back, but if the ball don't go through the hole, it doesn't matter. And most of everybody that's been on the Globetrotters have been all Americans or tops in their college. They may have been come from the NBA to the Globetrotters, and the Globetrotters to the NBA. So There's not a lot. Sometimes a lot of talent level is just a choice difference. And so the first thing is they look for talent. The second thing is they look for, basically an overall moral person, someone that has some character about them. Not saying nobody's perfect, we're perfect or anything. I mean, they just didn't want anybody to choke the Pope or kick President Mandela in the leg. So you have to have somebody that can have some restraints on some things and be able to represent the brand well. The third thing is, they look for what do you bring special to the Globetrotters. I during my time, I had Michael Wilson. He's in the Guinness Book, a wild thing from Memphis. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, dunking the ball 12 feet, 3 inches. We had Herb Lang, flight time. He won the NCAA dunk contest. We had Barry Hardy. Everybody's talking about Vince Carter when he put his arm in the rim, but Barry Hardy was doing that in '93. So you got so many other dunkers. You got so many other people. These guys, Fred Smith. I mean, these guys that jump so high, they got freaking flyer miles when they came down. So these people, what do you bring special? And so you take those three concepts and take it to business. You look for talented people. You look for people that have, overall great morals, great character, and you look for them how they can bring something special into your business and to the organization. And so those are three major things that I've learned with the Harlem Globetrotters, and be able to see people as people. You travel the world, everybody that's out there, every parent, no matter what language you speak, where you're from, want the best for their family. And they have a heart for people. Overall, people have a heart for other people and growth. And you're able to see that because you got to able to experience that. And some people stand in their little box and thinking they're the only people in the world, or they're um, the only race or anything in the world, or they don't believe because they don't look like me, they don't believe the same way. And one thing that's common, and any person that you speak with, they have blood running through their veins, and it's the same blood that runs through all the veins. Everybody's life, everybody's person has blood, and you can't reproduce it. I mean, you can't naturally. Those scientists they might reduce some other stuff, but reproduce other things. But blood, that's one thing that you can't reproduce, and that's something that everybody has. If you take the skin off, you'll see the bones, the muscles, the blood stuff running through your veins, and you can't tell. But people sometimes take the color, the pigmentation of a person, and try to put people in a box when everybody's in the same world together. And it's round, it's not square.
That's right. And Paul, I think that's such a great, important concept. I don't ever want a job as a woman in sports because of the color of my skin, because I'm a woman. I want that job to bring the best for the job.
Right.
Now, that being said, we have an entire group of people who are underrepresented in leadership roles in the sports industry. And
True.
it's high time we recognize that representation matters. And let's take a moment and shout out the Raiders for their recent announcement of hiring a black female as president, making history in the NFL. On the other hand, it's 22 and what to do.
And you look at that, and you look at that on so many levels, and you look at it as a young lady as she was, as she is, and to make it, when you're younger than me, so everybody's young lady, young male. So I hope the people don't get offended by that. But if you look at that, it's 2022, and it's someone, a young lady like that is in our front office and doing well. And you look at it, even representation of the people that play on the field. You know, it's not enough representation in coaches, ownerships, and things of that nature. You know, when I first retired, I was at a school, and I looked at, and it was probably more of a 70-30 ratio for minorities to, to white people. But the thing is it was none. It might have been higher than that, but it was none of African Americans in leadership. I was the only one, and I was a coach and doing some things. There was no leadership other than, and I want to take this. I hope no one takes this wrong, but other than, a janitor and some cafeteria people that do great jobs, making great money, doing. I got a nephew right now that took a mop and a and, in a bucket and got about 40 employees and doing great stuff. So it's not. I'm not saying that. Don't. I hope you don't take it wrong, but it was no other leadership that people of color got to see, but myself. In that regard, and I'm looking. I'm like, wow. How can you're saying something without saying it to a, especially to a young mind or even an older mind. You're saying things without saying it, and I think that's been going on way too long. It's a lot of things that are, and again, it's not a thing of just do it because color. If the person is qualified to do it, to do it. If it's a lady that's qualified to do it, do it. So it's not a thing of of a gender or a race. It's just qualifications. It's qualifications, and one thing that I'm glad about our school and what we're doing, we try to represent everybody that's a part of it as we grow. Um, I got two young ladies that's actually running the show. I just a headpiece. It seems like sometimes that, but it's good. I mean, because we have that common goal. What's the best thing for the organization, and what's the best thing for these young kids? Because again, if we don't teach them, my dad used to say, my mentor, my main mentor, my dad used to say all the time, if you never seen a diamond, you'll never want one. And we're trying to show these kids diamonds. That is more to out there than the physical attributes in sports. And we're 100% sports. I mean, we learn in the classroom and we experience it on the field. I mean, that's from business management, that's from nutrition. We got a certified chef at our school, so that's going to teach nutrition. And we have the pieces in place, but we want to make sure that you understand the whole gamut of the world of sports and quit just focusing on the physical. And there's nothing wrong with the physical pieces of it. Don't get me wrong at all, because I wouldn't be talking to you now if I wasn't in that part of the physical pieces. But there's other ways of being an NBA than other than playing. So don't just get um, discouraged if you don't make it in the physical piece. Go for it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But also know that you got another plan in there. Every playbook has different plays. It's just which play works for you in that game.
Paul, I think that's fantastic. I want to point people in your direction. Folks, if you're interested in learning more about that academy, it's gapacademy.org. gapacademy.org. If you want to email Paul and learn more, go to legendsare@gapacademy.org. legendsare@gapacademy.org. Paul, where's the best place for people to find you on social media?
Social media. We are on all social media at Gap Academy TN. Gap Academy TN. On all social media, except for TikTok. TikTok is GAPA GAPA TN. Couldn't get the academy part in. So that's the only place on social media that we are not Gap Academy TN.
Paul, we're just about out of time. I ask every
Already?
guest already. I ask every guest on Legacy After the Locker Room to partner with me for my charity of choice, Special Olympics.
Oh,
Can we count on you for an autograph donation?
most definitely. I mean, we didn't get to talk about it. I was with Special. We did a lot of things with Special Olympics, especially when they had it in the States. We was in Connecticut and had a great time. Got to do Special Olympics for the weekend. Oh, it was amazing. Amazing athletes, great people. These, oh my God, they really make you love, put the love back into the game. And so it's a great, anything you need me to do with that, just let me know and I'll be there.
Thank you for your support. I want to give you a moment, Paul, to thank the people that you need to thank and to leave our listeners with your parting words of wisdom.
I just thank everybody. I thank all my, doc, Dr. Torrance, our what we call our academic commissioner. Um, I like for that's coming out on my phone, texting me right now. That was Venus Lacey from the 96 Olympic team. She was just calling me. She's our assistant coach. She's one of our assistant coaches here. Um, so it's a lot of people that would like to thank, and she keeps me because I don't know why she just thinks she has that kind of closeness to me. But anyway, that I just like to reach out to everybody. That's you know the biggest thing is to love, and the scriptures to love, and not how somebody loves you, because you only responsible how you love somebody, not how they love you. So you're only responsible for you. So whatever they do to you, that's on them. But what you do to them is what you get counted for. So hey, reach out for the best.
Great words of wisdom. Folks, my name is Kayla Bradham, host of Legacy After the Locker Room podcast, here tonight with 15-year Harlem Globetrotter, Paul Showtime Gaffney, reminding you to live your legacy. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.